1 month passed. The galaxy held its breath. The Eternal Accord Station had never been so quiet. The great hall, which once echoed with confident speeches and bold declarations, now felt like a tomb. 12 species still sat in their seats, but everything had changed. Fear hung in the air like smoke. They were waiting for the humans. Ambassador Vel sat in his chair, staring at his hands. He had not slept properly since the war ended. Every night he saw the same images: burning shipyards, destroyed fleets, the faces of those who had died because of his pride. He had led his people into disaster. He had awakened a monster and called it prey. The doors to the great hall opened. Every head turned. Admiral Yuna walked in first. She wore her formal uniform, dark blue with gold symbols of rank. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes missed nothing. Behind her walked General Hannah, Captain J, Commodore Sung, and Lieutenant Myra. No guards. No weapons. They did not need them. The sound of their boots on the stone floor was the only noise in the room. The council representatives watched in silence. Some tried to meet Yuna's eyes. Most looked away. She stopped at the center of the hall, exactly where Vel had stood when he declared war. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Yuna began. Her voice was calm, almost soft, but it carried to every corner of the room. 1 month ago, you voted to destroy Earth. You sent 2,000 ships to erase humanity from existence. You thought we were weak. You thought we were primitive. You thought wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in. Your fleet is gone. 1,200 ships destroyed at Jupiter. The rest surrendered at Mars. The Korth Dominion's military is ashes. 3 of your member species have already withdrawn from this council. 2 more are negotiating with Earth directly. Vel felt his hearts beating faster. Here it came. The demands for blood. The revenge. The destruction of everything his people had built, but Yuna did not speak of revenge. We did not start this war, she continued. But we finished it. We could have done worse. Much worse. Commodore Sung could have destroyed cities instead of shipyards. Captain J could have killed prisoners instead of capturing them. I could have ordered the extinction of the Korth species. We had the power. We had the justification. Many would say we had the right. She shook her head slowly. But that is not who we are. Humanity fights hard. We fight to win. But we do not fight to destroy. We do not exist to spread death across the stars. The Milori representative, the same one who had questioned the war from the beginning, finally found her courage. Then what do you want? What does Earth demand? Yuna allowed herself the smallest smile. We demand justice. Not blood. Not territory? Not wealth, justice. She raised her hand and Lieutenant Myra stepped forward with a document. Our terms are simple, Yuna said. First, Earth receives a permanent seat on this council. Equal voting rights. Equal respect. We are not asking. We are stating a fact. Humanity has earned its place. The representatives exchanged glances but said nothing. Second, the council will issue a formal apology. This apology will be broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Every species will know that Earth was attacked without cause and defended itself with honor. Vel felt sick. A public apology. His shame would be eternal. Third, there will be no reparations. No occupied territories. No punishment beyond what has already occurred. Your dead are dead. Your lost ships are lost. That is punishment enough. Confusion spread through the room. This was not what they expected. Where was the anger? Where was the demand for blood? The Milori representative spoke again. Admiral, you could ask for anything. You could take our worlds. Enslave our people. Why do you show us mercy? Yuna turned to face her directly. Because true strength is not destroying your enemies. It is making them understand why they should never have been your enemies in the first place. She walked slowly around the room, looking at each representative in turn. You called us dangerous. You were right. We are the most dangerous species this galaxy has ever seen. We spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war against ourselves. We have weapons you cannot imagine. Soldiers who will fight until their last breath. Hatred that burns for generations. She stopped in front of Vel. His 4 eyes could not meet her gaze. But danger is not evil. Fire is dangerous. It can burn cities. It can kill millions. But it can also provide warmth. Cook food, light the darkness. What matters is how that power is used. She turned back to face the full council. Humanity could have used its power to become the new tyrants of the galaxy. We chose not to. Remember this day. Remember that you struck first. Remember that we could have ended you. And remember that we chose not to. Silence filled the hall. Then slowly the Mallory representative stood. I moved to accept Earth's terms. All of them. One by one, the other representatives stood. Even Vel, though his legs shook, rose from his seat. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, Earth had a seat at the council table. Admiral Una nodded once. Then it is done. The ceremony that followed was brief. Documents were signed. Hands were shaken. Photographs were taken. But everyone knew the real moment had already passed. The galaxy had changed forever in the span of a few sentences. Afterward, Captain J stood on the observation deck, watching the stars through the great windows. The weight of years seemed to have lifted from his shoulders. His wife and daughter were avenged. Not through blood, but through victory. Through proof that humanity was everything they had always believed it could be, Lieutenant Myra joined him. She was young, her whole life ahead of her. The war had been her first. She hoped it would be her last. Do you think they will try again? She asked. Jay smiled. It was the first real smile he had allowed himself in 15 years. No, they have learned. Learned what? He looked out at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, trillions of beings were telling stories about Earth, about the humans who fought like demons and showed mercy like saints, about the species that refused to bow, refused to break, refused to become the monsters others expected them to be. They learned the truth, he said. Attacking Earth is not bold. It is suicidal. Myra nodded slowly. And now? Now we build. We explore. We grow. We show the galaxy that humanity is not just strong. We are kind. We are curious. We are good. He turned away from the window and began walking toward the Earth delegation. There was work to do. A future to create. A place among the stars to earn, not through fear, but through the best of what humanity could be. Behind him, the stars burned with ancient light. They had witnessed empires rise and fall. They had seen species born and die. Now they watched something new. Something different. They watched humanity take its first steps into a galaxy that would never be the same, and somewhere, in the darkness between worlds, the wolves ran free. Not as predators, not as monsters, but as guardians of a future that was finally, truly theirs. The war was over. The real journey had just begun. The enemy fleet gathered near Mars. 800 ships, damaged and desperate, made their final stand. Their homeworld was burning. Their reinforcements would never come, but the alien commanders refused to surrender. Pride would not allow it. Fear would not allow it. They would fight to the end. Fleet Commander Roth, a warrior from the Mallory Union, had taken command after Dole's death. She was small but fierce, with bright blue feathers and eyes like cold fire. She knew they could not win. But she also knew that surrender meant shame for her entire species. Form defensive formation, she ordered. Make them pay for every ship they take. The 800 vessels arranged themselves in a sphere around Mars, their shields linked together, creating a wall of energy. Their weapons pointed outward, ready to fire at anything that moved. They waited. They did not wait long. Admiral Una brought everything. The Ghost Fleet came from Jupiter. The Home Guard came from Earth, and from the cold darkness beyond Neptune came the Awakened, 10 massive dreadnoughts that had been sleeping in ice for 100 years, the awakened were monsters. Each one was 5 kilometers long, covered with weapons that could crack planets. They had been built during humanity's last great civil war, then sealed away because they were too terrible to use. Now, Una had woken them up. Lieutenant Myra stood beside the Admiral on the bridge of Soul's Fury. She was young, only 24, but her mind was extraordinary. 3 years ago, she had run simulations of this exact battle. Every move, every tactic, every outcome. She had predicted everything. "Admiral," Myra said quietly, "they are in the formation I expected. Defensive sphere. Linked shields." Una nodded. "Weakness?" "The bottom. They are protecting the top and sides, but their coverage at the bottom is thin. If we hit them from below with concentrated fire, we can break the shield link." "Good." Una opened a channel to all ships. "All commanders, this is Admiral Una. Today we end this war. Today we show the galaxy what Earth can do. Attack pattern Delta, strike from below, break their shields. And show no mercy to their ships, but spare their escape pods. We are soldiers, not murderers." The human fleet moved forward. 1,000 ships against 800. The numbers favored humanity, but the enemy was desperate. Desperate enemies fought hardest. Captain J led the first wave. His ghost fleet dove beneath the enemy formation, their weapons blazing. Antimatter lances cut through the thin shield coverage at the bottom. The energy wall flickered and broke. "Shield link destroyed," Myra announced. Now the real killing began. Human ships poured through the gap. They attacked from every direction, overwhelming the enemy with speed and firepower. The Awakened fired their main weapons. Massive beams of energy that vaporized 3 enemy ships at once. The aliens fought back. They were not cowards. Malori fighters sacrificed themselves to protect larger ships. Korath cruisers charged directly at human vessels, hoping to ram them. For 2 days the battle raged. Neither side rested. Neither side stopped. Admiral Una did not sleep. She watched every moment, giving orders, adjusting tactics, keeping her fleet alive. Lieutenant Myra stayed beside her, providing information, offering suggestions. Together they guided humanity through the storm. On the second day, everything changed. A Korath battleship broke through the human lines. It headed directly toward Soul's Fury, its weapons firing wildly. The ship was damaged, burning, but still dangerous. "Incoming!" an officer shouted. Una did not flinch. "All batteries, focus fire." The Soul's Fury turned its full power against the enemy ship. Missiles flew. Lasers cut. Railguns pounded. The Korath battleship exploded just 300 meters away. The blast wave hit Soul's Fury hard. Systems failed. Lights died. The ship spun out of control. For a terrible moment, darkness filled the bridge. Then emergency power kicked in. Red lights flickered on. Una pulled herself up from the floor, blood running from a cut on her forehead. "Damage report," she ordered. "Heavy damage to sections 4 through 7. 100 dead. But we are still fighting, Admiral." She wiped the blood from her eyes. "Then we continue." The battle went on. Hour after hour. Ship after ship. The human fleet lost 112 vessels. Thousands of brave soldiers died in the cold darkness of space. But slowly, surely, the enemy numbers dropped. Finally, only 50 enemy ships remained. They were surrounded, broken, hopeless. Fleet Commander Roth's flagship was still alive, but barely. Half her crew was dead. Her weapons were empty. Her shields were gone. A message came from Admiral Una. "Commander Roth, your fleet is destroyed. Your homeworld is disarmed. You have nothing left. Surrender now, and your survivors will be treated with honor." Roth closed her 4 eyes. She had fought well. Her people had fought well. But the humans were simply better. Stronger, more prepared. Continuing the battle would only mean more death for nothing. "All ships," she said quietly, "lower weapons. Power down shields. We surrender." A strange silence fell over the battlefield. Debris floated everywhere. The bodies of the dead drifted in the void. But the shooting had stopped. The war was over. Admiral Yuna allowed herself one moment of relief. Just one, then she turned to her crew. Send rescue ships. Pick up all survivors, human and alien. Treat the prisoners with respect. Give them food, water, medical care. We won this war. We do not need to be cruel to prove our strength. Lieutenant Myra looked at her with new admiration. Admiral, why show them kindness? They came to destroy us. Yuna looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, trillions of beings were watching, waiting to see what kind of species humanity really was. Because victory means nothing if we lose ourselves, she said. We fight when we must. We kill when we must. But we never become the monsters they accused us of being. That is what separates soldiers from murderers. That is what makes us human. Myra nodded slowly. She understood now. This war had been about more than survival. It had been about proving what humanity stood for. The rescue ships launched. Human medics treated alien wounded alongside their own. Prisoners were given blankets and warm food. Some cried. Some thanked their captors. Some just stared in confusion, unable to understand why their enemies showed kindness on the council station. Ambassador Vel watched the rescue operations through his screen. He saw humans saving the lives of those who had tried to kill them. He saw mercy where he expected revenge. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never felt before. Shame, deep, burning shame for what he had done. The humans had won. But more than that, they had proven something to the entire galaxy. They were not monsters. They were not mindless killers. They were warriors who fought with honor and showed mercy to the defeated, and that, Vel realized, made them more terrifying than any monster could ever be. Earth was not afraid. This surprised the galaxy more than anything else. News of the invasion had spread to every corner of the planet. People knew that 2,000 enemy ships had come to destroy them. They knew the Council wanted them dead or enslaved. But instead of panic, there was something else. Something the aliens could not understand. There was anger. Cold, patient, dangerous anger. In Seoul, lines formed outside recruitment centers before the sun rose. Young men and women waited for hours to join the military. Old soldiers came out of retirement asking for any job that would help. Factories that made cars and phones shut down. When they opened again, they made weapons and ship parts. In New York, a grandmother taught her grandchildren how to shoot. In Tokyo, engineers worked through the night to build new fighter craft. In Cairo, doctors prepared hospitals for wounded soldiers. Across the world, humanity moved as one. General Hannah stood in the command center beneath the mountains of Korea. She was 60 years old, short and thin, but her voice could make armies move. Screens around her showed troop movements, supply lines, and defense positions. Everything was going according to plan. A young officer approached her. "General, the planetary broadcast system is ready?" She nodded and walked to the recording room. A camera faced her. A red light blinked on, and her face appeared on every screen on Earth, in homes, in shelters, in military bases, in ships floating in space. Everyone stopped to watch. "People of Earth," she began, "the enemy has come. They call us primitive. They call us dangerous. They think we are weak because we fight each other." She paused, her dark eyes burning with fierce light. "They are wrong?" She stepped closer to the camera. "For 10,000 years we have made war. We fought with sticks and stones. We fought with swords and arrows. We fought with guns and bombs. We killed millions of our own kind. We burned cities. We destroyed nations. And through all of it, we survived. We learned. We became stronger." Her voice rose. "The aliens do not understand what we are. They see a young species and think we are easy prey. But we are not prey. We are the hunters. We are the wolves." She raised her fist. "Every person who touches a weapon for Earth today becomes part of something greater than themselves. Every bullet, every ship, every sacrifice brings us closer to victory. This is not just a war. This is our moment. The moment when humanity proves its place in the stars. She took a breath and spoke her final words. They wanted to erase us. Instead, they will remember us forever. Now go, fight, win, for Earth, for humanity. For everyone who will come after us. The broadcast ended. Across the planet, a roar went up. Not of fear. Of determination. Of pride. The wolves had awakened. While Earth prepared, the real plan unfolded far away. Commodore Soong stood on the bridge of the Shadow's Edge, the lead ship of his stealth fleet. 3 carriers and 40 support ships moved through hyperspace. Completely invisible to enemy sensors. Soong was a thin man with gray hair and quiet eyes. He had spent 20 years in special operations. He did not like speeches or glory. He liked results, time to target. He asked, 4 hours, Commodore, his navigator replied. Soong nodded. Review the mission one more time. The plan was simple but deadly. While the Council's armada regrouped at Saturn, Soong's fleet would strike the Korath homeworld directly. Not to kill civilians. That was not the human way. Instead, they would destroy every military target they could find. Shipyards, fuel stations, weapons factories, defense platforms. Without those targets, the Korath could not build new ships. They could not fuel their fleet. They could not defend themselves. One strike would cripple their war effort for a generation. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace, behind Korath's largest moon. Soong looked at the enemy homeworld through his window. It was a brown and orange planet, covered with cities and factories. Millions of Korath lived there, unaware of what was coming. Scan for military targets, Soong ordered. Confirm civilian zones. I want 0 unnecessary deaths. His officers worked quickly. Within minutes, they had identified 37 military targets. Shipyards filled with half-built warships, orbital defense stations, underground weapons storage, a massive fuel depot that supplied the entire fleet. Launch attack craft, Soong commanded. Begin the operation. 200 small fighters burst from the carriers. They moved like shadows, invisible to Korath sensors until it was too late. The first target, a shipyard holding 50 new warships, exploded in a ball of fire. The second target followed. Then the third, the Korath scrambled to respond. Defense ships launched from the surface. But Soong had planned for this. His fighters were faster and better armed. They destroyed the defenders easily, then continued their work. For 6 hours, the attack continued. Explosions lit up the sky above the Korath homeworld. Their military infrastructure burned. Their ability to make war died piece by piece. When it was over, Soong looked at the damage reports. 35 of 37 targets destroyed. 200 enemy ships eliminated. The great Korath Dominion, which had bullied smaller species for centuries, was now helpless. He opened a channel to Admiral Yuna. Operation complete. The Korath are finished. On the Soul's Fury, Yuna received the message with grim satisfaction. The plan had worked perfectly. The enemy fleet at Saturn had no home to return to. No supplies coming? No reinforcements. She turned to her communications officer. Send a message to the remaining armada. Tell them what happened to their homeworld. Tell them there is nowhere left to run. Minutes later, the 800 surviving armada ships received images of burning shipyards and destroyed stations. Commanders stared at their screens in horror. Everything they had built was gone. Their families were unharmed, but their military power was dust. On the council station, Ambassador Vel watched the same images. His hands shook so badly he could not hold his drink. He had promised an easy victory. He had promised glory. Instead, he had brought destruction to his people. A message arrived from Earth. It was Admiral Yuna's face, calm and cold. Ambassador Vel, she said, your homeworld is disarmed. Your fleet is trapped. You have one choice left. Fight and die or surrender and live. The decision is yours. The screen went black. Vel sat alone in the darkness, understanding at last what he had done. He had poked a sleeping Volf. And now the Volf was awake, hungry, and coming for him. The combined armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 ships appeared in a flash of blue light, their weapons armed, their crews ready for battle. Fleet Commander Dole stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Hammer of Justice. He was a Korath warrior, covered in scales the color of rust. He had won 15 battles in his career. He expected this to be his 16th. "Scan the area," he ordered. "Find their defense fleet?" His officers worked their consoles. Seconds passed, then minutes. The results came back empty. "Commander," a young officer said, his voice confused, "there is nothing here. No ships, no weapons platforms. No mines, nothing." Dole frowned. This made no sense. The humans had talked so bravely. Where was their fleet? Had they run away? Were they hiding on their planet like cowards? "Move forward," he commanded. "Full speed toward Earth. Stay in formation." The Armada began its journey into the solar system. They passed Neptune, then Uranus, then the cold emptiness between worlds. Still nothing. Some commanders started to relax. Perhaps this would be easier than expected. Dole did not relax. Something felt wrong. The silence was too perfect. The emptiness was too complete. He remembered Admiral Yuna's smile, and cold worry grew in his stomach. "Commander," another officer called out, "we are detecting strange readings near Jupiter." "Gravitational anomalies?" "Our sensors cannot explain them." Dole walked to the sensor station. The readings were strange indeed. Something was hiding in Jupiter's massive radiation storms. Something big. "All ships, stop," he ordered. "Raise shields. Prepare for—" He never finished his sentence. Jupiter's storms exploded with light. 700 human ships burst from the clouds, moving faster than anything Dole had ever seen. They were black as night, shaped like daggers. And they came in perfect silence. The Ghost Fleet had arrived. Captain J. sat in the command chair of the Silent Blade. He was 40 years old, with a scar running down his left cheek. That scar came from a Korath raid on his home colony 15 years ago. His wife and daughter died that day. He had spent every moment since preparing for this. "All ships," he said calmly. "Begin attack pattern Omega. Show them no mercy." The battle began. Human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They turned without slowing. They accelerated without warning. The reason was simple but terrifying. Every human pilot was connected directly to their ship through neural implants. They did not fly their ships. They were their ships. The first wave of human attacks hit the Armada's left flank. 150 alien ships died in the first 60 seconds. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Metal twisted and broke. Thousands of alien soldiers died before they could fire a single shot. Dole screamed orders. "Return fire. Focus on their lead ships. Break their formation." But the humans had no formation to break. They fought like wolves, hunting in small packs, striking weak points, then vanishing before the enemy could respond. Their weapons were unlike anything the Council had seen. Antimatter lances that cut through shields like paper. Gravity bombs that crushed ships into tiny balls of metal. Railguns that fired rounds at a fraction of light speed. The Hammer of Justice shook as enemy fire hit its shields. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Dole grabbed his console to stay standing. "Commander, we have lost 400 ships," his first officer reported, his voice shaking with fear. They are too fast. We cannot hit them." Dole watched the battle on his screen. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Human ships danced through his fleet, leaving death behind them. He saw the Silent Blade coming toward him, its weapons glowing with deadly light. "All ships, target that vessel," he commanded. "Destroy it." 50 Armada ships fired at Captain J's ship. The Silent Blade twisted and rolled, avoiding most of the shots. The few that hit did little damage. Human shields were stronger than anything the Council had built. Jay smiled grimly. He recognized the enemy flagship. He knew Fleet Commander Dole was aboard. This was the man who had ordered the raid on his colony. This was the man responsible for his family's death. Lock antimatter lance, Jay said. Full power. A beam of pure white energy shot from the silent blade. It hit the hammer of justice directly in its center. The massive ship broke in half. Its reactor exploded. Fleet Commander Dole and 10,000 Korath soldiers died in an instant. The battle continued for another hour, but it was already over. The armada was broken. Ships tried to flee, but human vessels hunted them down. Some commanders surrendered, and Captain J ordered them taken prisoner. He was not a monster. He was just a soldier. When the shooting finally stopped, 800 armada ships remained. They gathered near Saturn, damaged and afraid. 1,200 ships had been destroyed in a single battle. The largest defeat in galactic history. Admiral Yuna listened to the reports with satisfaction. The first part of the plan had worked perfectly. Casualties? She asked. 37 ships destroyed. 800 dead, came the reply. She closed her eyes for a moment. Every death was painful. But this was war. More would die before it ended. Captain J, she called through the communicator. Admiral, he responded. Well done. Hold position. Let them think they have a chance to recover. Understood, Jay said. What about the next phase? Yuna allowed herself a small smile. Commodore Sung is already on his way. By the time these fools realize what is happening, their homeworld will be burning. Somewhere in hyperspace, 3 stealth carriers moved silently toward Korth space. The real war was just beginning. On the council station, Ambassador Vel received the battle report. His 4 eyes read the numbers again and again, unable to believe them. 1,200 ships destroyed. Fleet Commander Dole dead. The humans had barely lost anything. His hands started to shake. What had he done? What kind of enemy had he awakened? A message arrived from the surviving fleet. They were ready. They were waiting. This is not what we were told. Vel sat down slowly. For the first time in his long career, he understood true fear. And this, he realized, was only the beginning. The great hall of the Eternal Accord Station was silent. 12 species sat in their seats, arranged in a perfect circle. Light from distant stars came through the massive windows. This was the most powerful place in the galaxy. Every war, every treaty, every law passed through this room. Ambassador Vel stood at the center. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes that never blinked. His voice was calm, but his words carried poison. Earth must be stopped, he said. The humans have grown too fast. They took 3 star systems in 50 years. They refuse to follow our rules. They build weapons we cannot identify. If we wait, they will become too strong. The representatives listened. Some nodded. Others looked uncertain. Vel continued. I propose a simple solution. We send the combined armada. 2,000 ships. We destroy their fleet, occupy their planet, and end this threat before it begins. A representative from the Mallory Union raised her hand. She was small, with blue feathers covering her body. Ambassador Vel, the humans have done nothing aggressive. They have not attacked anyone. Is this not murder? Vel smiled. It was not a kind smile. It is prevention. They are predators. Their history is full of blood. They killed each other for thousands of years. Do you want to wait until they start killing us? The debate lasted 3 hours. Some spoke against the attack. They said it was wrong. They said it was dangerous. But Vel had spent years building support. He had made promises. He had made threats. When the vote came, 8 hands rose in favor. Only 4 opposed. The war against Earth was approved. Far away, on a small station hidden in an asteroid field, Commander Taiho watched the transmission. He was a young man with sharp eyes and a calm face. His job was to listen. Earth had broken the Council's codes years ago. They heard everything. He picked up his communicator. Admiral, they voted yes. 2,000 ships? They are coming? On the other end, Admiral Yuna sat in her command chair aboard the Soul's Fury. She was 53 years old. Her hair was gray, cut short. Her face showed no emotion, but her mind was already moving through possibilities. Timeline? She asked. 3 weeks, Taiho replied. Maybe 4? Good, that is enough. She closed the channel and looked at the star map on her screen. Earth glowed blue at the center. Around it, hidden in the darkness of space, were her fleets. 700 ships that the Council did not know existed. Weapons they had never seen. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. She pressed a button. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Yuna. Condition red, the enemy is coming. Begin final preparations. Across the solar system, lights turned on in hidden bases. Engines warmed up. Pilots climbed into their ships. The wolves were waking. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Vel stood before the Council one final time. Behind him, a massive screen showed the combined armada. 2,000 ships arranged in perfect formation. The largest fleet in 300 years. Today, we end the human threat, Vel announced. In 1 week, Earth will belong to the Council. He opened a communication channel to Earth. The screen flickered and Admiral Yuna's face appeared. She looked bored. Humans, Vel said, you have one chance. Surrender now. Disarm your ships. Accept Council rule. If you refuse, you will be destroyed. Every city, every colony, every man, woman, and child. This is your only warning. Admiral Yuna stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that confused everyone watching. She laughed. It was a soft laugh, almost sad. Ambassador Vel, she said, do you know why humanity spent so long fighting itself? Vel frowned. Because you are violent animals. No, Yuna replied. Because we were practicing. She leaned forward and her eyes turned cold. You think 2,000 ships are enough? You think you understand what we are? You are children playing with fire, and you do not even know it. Vel felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Fear, he pushed it down. Empty words, he said. You cannot stop us. Yuna smiled. It was the smile of someone holding a secret. We do not surrender. We do not forget. And we do not lose. She paused. Come if you dare, Ambassador. Come and learn why attacking Earth is not bold. It is suicidal. The screen went black, the council chamber was quiet. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. The Milori ambassador whispered to her assistant. Even some of Vel's supporters seemed uncertain, but the fleet was already moving. 2,000 ships entered hyperspace. Racing toward Earth, there was no turning back. On the Soul's Fury, Admiral Yuna stood and walked to the window. She could see Jupiter in the distance, a giant ball of storms and secrets. Hidden inside those storms were her ghost fleet, waiting in silence. Captain Jay's voice came through her communicator. Admiral, all ships are in position. We are ready. Good, she said. Remember the plan. Let them come deep into our territory. Let them think they are winning. And then we show them what humans can do, Jay finished. Yuna nodded, even though he could not see her. 300 years they have ruled this galaxy. They forgot what war really means. It is time to remind them. She returned to her chair and closed her eyes. In 3 weeks, the galaxy would change forever. The Council wanted a quick war. They would get something else entirely. They would get humanity unleashed.